Hello everyone, sorry for the delay, just getting started there, but we are underway here in Hungary. The sun is setting here in the UK and Ireland, and the sun is also setting here in Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix in the Hungaroring near Budapest. As far as the championship standings go here in round 10 of CTCR Season 5, standings go, SLR Quattro leads the way now by 18 points to Jinx. Yet to join the lobby, Jinx. He has 15 minutes to do so and hopefully set a competitive enough lap time. He needs a bad result from Quattro today and him to finish either second or first, and he will take the lead of the championship. Other than that, he won't be able. He will still be behind SLR Quattro. He needs to at least be able to jump Quattro. We're riding on board here with Griffin, who is, I think, the next driver to cross the line with a timed lap. Back 2 has joined and he set the fastest lap so far with a 16.8. Pole last night was a 16.3, and Griffin right now is going to set an 18.1. Behind him is Kofi, who goes quickest with a 17.3, which would have been pole last night. Lucas Paul goes second with a 16.8. Behind him is Hyper, and I think he may go quickest of all. No, it's not a good lap time from him. Next up is Legend, who just barely takes that off him. The next person that could possibly do that is Quattro. He's abandoned his lap. VLE Eaton is next. He's a newcomer into the league, and we can see what he will set. Behind him's Oven Curry. He's not a newcomer to the league, and he's gone third fastest. Behind him, 2 Magnus next across the line, goes 8 fastest, and then behind them it's back 2 into the pits. And I think that's the first round of laps done, other than possibly George Ansel, who's coming to the line now. And it's a very good lap from him, a 16.7 with a broken finger. You can't really give out much about that. So we'll keep an eye on VLE Eaton, who set the fastest first sector. Seems to be going quite smoothly indeed through the middle sector. He's joined, he has definitely a lot of hype around him, and whether or not he can compete up at the top. We'll see for the final few races what he can do now here in Tier 1 of CTCR. The closest competitors to Jinx and Quattro at the moment is Hyper on 70 points, still, as you can see, a long way away. The top 5, it's good to see that the top 5, well, other than this, we'll get back to the top 5 in a moment, because VLE Eaton is about to cross the line, and he sets a 16 flat. What a lap that is. That's going to be hard to beat now. At the moment, though, 2 Magnus's time last night, obviously it's not his time at the moment, but 2 Magnus's time last night would got him P2 on the grid, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, which is very impressive indeed. CRM Doodle a 10th up here in the first sector. As he comes to the end of his middle sector, we'll see whether he is up on his time or not. He is just barely up in his time, so he has it all to improve here in the final sector. His teammate is before him on the mediums. What kind of time can JRR set as he goes around the final corner? And he goes 7th fastest. CRM Doodle, who's just barely up in his time. How much will he be up now? He doesn't improve. Stays 10th fastest. SLR Quattro, Jinx, Hyper, JRR and Oven Curry. They are also the 5 drivers who haven't missed a race this season. Everybody else has at least missed 1 race. Obviously Legend missed the first 2 and then has raced in all except Belgium. Lucas Paul had a great record but then missed the last 3 races. He is finally back and he is currently in P6, so that's, I think, how Lucas Paul was doing so well, obviously winning in Bahrain, but his championship hopes never really came alive. So we'll switch to Quattro, who hasn't set a better first sector than Ethan. We will see if he can improve, as I think that's JRR going slowly. He's set 4 laps now on those medium tyres and I think has ran out of fuel. Hopefully can get out of the way for Quattro as he's flying through the middle sector and just controlling that car with pure precision here through the middle sector as he comes to the end of it now. What kind of time is it going to be? It's a 54.5 and the fastest of all. So we'll see now as he heads round the middle or the final sector where he has everything to do, and he has just one Alfa Romeo car that could be in the way, but he looks like he's in the pits, so it's all now down to SLR Quattro round the final corner. What kind of time can the championship leader set? It's P2 for now, fastest in the final sector as well as the middle, but his first sector was nowhere near as good as Ethan's, and Quattro can only accept the front row for now. 9 minutes to go. I'm going to make sure that Jinx, one of our championship contenders, is able to get in, or otherwise we won't have any sort of championship towards the end of this. Don't think we have anyone else, so we'll keep it at that. He's not even online yet, which is very worrying. I'm sorry for a sec, I'm just going to have to... I'll be with you in a moment. SJ Williams has retired there while I've been gone. I'm trying just to do something here. Apologies for the inconvenience. I don't think much has happened anyway, as I'm just trying to get Jinx into the lobby. He's on an alternate account. I think he may have added me already. My notifications obviously have been on silent. Oh, that's Legend. I just see Lost in the background. Magnus has gone quicker, up in the P6. JRR invalidated. Next is Griffin. He's only starting a lap. I see an Alpine going through the middle sector. He's a few tenths up. Alright, it says he has me added. Oh yeah, Jinx actually on a new account, so let me just... Apologies for this. Jinx is probably only going to get enough time to set one lap. SLR Quattro, I think, is just starting a lap now. And he's spun after setting the fastest sector. JRR just crossed the line there. Jinx, yes, finally into the lobby. That's good to see. Hopefully you can be able to get a lap time on the board, and if it's a really good one, you possibly able to put a bit of trouble on the leaders, and he needs a big result today. Oh, and JRR loses at the same place Quattro does as he lets Lucas Paul by. CRM Duel is not on a lap. I think Kofi is on a lap. He is a 10th up as he is flying it through the middle sector, and now through the final sector he goes. Looks fairly clean around there. There's not much problems going on in the Aston Martin team anyway, as there's only one driver bringing home all the points, and those points is currently the second row, third on the grid for now. We'll see what they can do. Jinx just finally in on the final Red Bull, and he has 4 minutes to get a competitive lap on the board. It's difficult to get overtaken around Hungary, so the pressure is well and truly on. Yes, I think that's all we have, 16 drivers. I'm quite happy because, as you can kind of see from the many we didn't have, in, of course, as Jinx has disconnected. Yeah, but as you can see from the many people we Lucas Paul, a 10th up on his time, has also lost it, and I think that could be the end of qualifying for the Ferrari, 10th at best, unless he can get it back in rapid time. But as I was saying, not much people are really showing up to these races of the game kind of people falling out with the game, and they're seeing the leaks to the new game, and they're all getting excited, and they're just falling out of love with F1 22, which I can't say I haven't, or I'm sorry for my English, I am not, because it is, as shown in Monza, a completely, really terrible game, and I'm desperate to get onto the new one as much as anyone else, and it should be a good one. Hyper's 2 tenths up on his first time. We're riding on board with him. We'll switch back kind of to the conversation to what we're currently having about the new game and everything that is happening at the moment on the old games. There's too many glitches. The cars don't handle well, and other than League of Ireland, I'm not really enjoying it either. That's the reason I left Tier 2. But next season is a brand new season, and this lap is a brand new lap for Hyper, who's 5 tenths up in his time. He lost all of his time with a snap of oversteer on this corner right here in his first run. This is his final run, and a chance here to possibly push his car up near the front of the grid. Hyper comes to the line now. It's a 16.8 only, and it's going to be 11th fastest. He has a lap possibly to recharge. He has the amount of fuel. He will recharge. He should be able to go again. As far as guys coming to the line, I seen the next person that came out for a lap, I think possibly could have been George. Actually no, it's Griffin, who's 4 tenths up in his time. Obviously not a very good lap from him, as Jinx is only going to start his only lap now. We're going to probably ride on board with him through that lap. But it's Griffin who we're looking at the moment, because he is 8 tenths up on his time as he comes around now that penultimate corner where laps can go wrong and people can run wide, but he has taken that very, very smoothly indeed. The same with this corner, it's almost identical, and he needs to get on the power right now to the line. Griffin sets a 16.8 and goes just ahead of Hyper. Next person on a lap was VLE Eaton. He's had to abandon that. We will ride on board as George Ansel goes quickest with a 15.8. That came out of absolutely nowhere. So we'll ride on board with SLR Quattro, because he is the only real front runner that's closest to the line at the moment. No one else is on a lap, I don't think, that's actually really improving at the moment. Nope, pretty much SLR Quattro is who we have to look at. George Ansel, provisional pole with a broken finger. That's very impressive, but Quattro's 2/10 up. So even more, and his first sector was really poor. George Ansel is retired on the track. Luckily that's in qualifying. We hope that doesn't get in the way, because he is liable for that if it does get in the way. And I think it has. I think that's Jinx who's off and out. And that's the end of qualifying for Jinx. And he's going to start from the back of the grid here in Hungary. But everything else lies on SLR Quattro here to get onto the front of the grid. He is 3/10 up now, coming to the end of his lap. His first sector was poor, and his middle sector has been quite as better than what his original middle sector was. It's all about trying to replicate that former final sector and see where he can put the car. SLR Quattro, the championship leader, is on provisional pole for now. Who can stop him? Possibly Ethan, possibly Kofi. 2/10 up. Is he going to improve by any more to get onto pole? He's on pole position, just about from Kofi at the depth. Next, Hyper to cross the line. He's not improving. Magnus abandons his lap. JRR just over a tenth up on his time. Where can he put it? He can put it third. Ethan is 2/10 up as well. Legend first. He goes third. Ethan, the final person who could possibly take them off pole position. He's on pole position on his CTCR debut. What an end to qualifying that has been, with one of the championship protagonists, Jinx, falling out of place. SLR Quattro going onto the pole, with then Kofi going onto pole, and it finishes with the McLaren of VLE Eaton on his CTCR debut going onto pole position. What a qualifying session. Last time, obviously around here in Hungary, a McLaren won the race. Not from pole position, they won it from the third or the second row of the grid in third place. We'll see if McLaren can have a double win in Hungary. Their last win, McLaren, I think goes all the way back to SLR Quattro, I'm pretty sure. All the way back. Or no, actually, the last win for McLaren was Adjdox in Mexico of last season. Question is, will Ethan be the next person to win a race for McLaren? He is on pole with a 15.6. That's a very impressive lap. Kofi in second with a 15.7, just under a tenth, just under half a tenth away from potentially pole. Quattro can only settle for the second row, third with Legend alongside. JRR fifth alongside George Ansel. Owen Curry in 6th or 7th along with 2 Magnus, and back 2 and Lucas Paul occupy the last points positions on the grid. Griffin and Hyper in 11th and 12th, with SJ Williams and CRM Doodle in 14th, Jack in 15th, and Jinx, just like in Monza, is going to have to start from the back of the grid and hope that Quattro has one of the biggest nightmares, as confirmed that the US Grand Prix has been cancelled and there's only 4 seats or 4 races to go, and it's raining here in Hungary. Now, George Ansel could be in a bit of trouble in case his car got in the way of Jinx. Obviously he's allowed retire in qualifying, but if his car is in the way of Jinx, then he is liable. But Jinx seems to be giving out about his internet connection, so I don't think it was his fault, and I think he's okay. So this is almost like where I'm living right now here on the east coast of Ireland. It is pouring rain outside for me, and it is also raining here in Hungary. It doesn't seem to be that wet in the pit lane, so I'm sure it's only going to this before 2021. What will happen down into turn 1 here in this very wet Hungarian Grand Prix? Everyone starting on the intermediate tyres as predicted, and we'll see what these drivers can do under a bit of pressure here. The Elite apparently is using a setup designed for Inter, so if that's true, it could be all in his hands. It could be his race to lose on his debut, which is absolutely crazy to think a new guy, a new driver to the league, has his race to lose here. Snap of oversteer out of turn 3, I'm pretty sure that is. I think that little kink out of turn 1 is considered a corner. I'm going to get a track map up now because I am not very prepared for this race, as I probably should be a bit more compared. Ooh! Around goes Ethan on the formation lap. Hopefully he doesn't get in trouble and get disqualified. Or, oh, did he contact with the AlphaTauri there? And is he going to get sent to the grid? I think he's okay. He's got away with it. But he's going to have to try and overtake everyone now. Get back ahead. Here we go. Here's a nice track map here now for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Just all the corners nicely lined up for me. And we're about to get going as the cars come round their final corners. Yeah, Ethan's going to be allowed now go through. So starting on 0 points, could possibly be 25 VLL Ethan, and I think that was JRR. We're going to have to be reported for their formation lap shenanigans. But for now, we're going to focus on the Grand Prix ahead. So here we go. 5 red lights here in Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go. It seems to be a good getaway I see at the front. A great getaway at the back there from, I think that was Griffin in the Haas. Kofi has the better run. There's someone off. That's Legend and he's out. And Quattro has his front wing gone. That's delightful for Jinx, but horrible for the championship leader. Ethan is losing places off the start as a safety car, I think, has already been brought out. Just a VSC, I'm pretty sure, actually, for now. But that is horrible for SLR Quattro, and Legend not even making it to the first corner. Oh, so unlucky. Ethan loses off the line to Kofi with a brilliant getaway, takes the lead of the race. Still yet to win this season, and he could be now in the driving seat here in Hungary. JRR with a good start. Obviously both VLE Ethan and JRR under investigation for formation lap incident in lining up the grid. So that could possibly mean George Ansel's in the driving seat here, of possibly getting back ahead. Still only a VSC for now after that start. Great start, I think that was from back 2. We'll have a look at positions change now. So obviously Kofi's gone up 1 as we're back racing here now. And Ethan has been absolutely swarmed there by JRR here as they go around the final corner. As Ethan picked up a bit of damage there, maybe going into turn 1. JRR got a great run on him here now as they head down towards turn 1. Kofi sets the fastest lap. JRR is flying it down the straight here. They're going to go side by side into turn 1. Ethan definitely burning, but JRR goes late on the brakes. Going to try go round the outside. He's almost forced off the track as we see Kofi go by, and I think we see JRR go by in front. There down into turn 2. The Alfa Romeo is in second now, ahead of both the guys under investigation for formation lap breaches. But a brilliant overtake from JRR in the wet weather as well. Could be up for one of the overtakes of the season, as Ethan is starting to struggle now on the intermediates. You can see it. His setup design for intermediates isn't really designed at the moment, as we'll have to have a look at also SLR Quattro and Legend for their lap 1 incidents. That's already been noted. So the drivers get away well, as Jinx is making places up at the back. We can see he has got by Griffin, who's going to try and maybe fight back. No, he's not. Jinx showing his experience, and Quattro is hoping for a possible safety car. I wonder if it will dry up at any stage during this race. It got wet last night and unfortunately I lost it. JRR is the fastest driver on track and could be on, the Tier 2 champion, could be on for his first win of the season. So we'll see. You can see definitely that the top 5, top 6 you could say, even back 2, kind of starting to pull away as 2 Magnus goes down the inside there of Lucas Paul. Lucas Paul staying with him, showing his experience well in this league. 2 Magnus going to try it round the outside. Lucas Paul keeps that inside line. Magnus May going to try it again. They're still side by side and Magnus gets the place. Really good overtake by the Williams driver, who has his teammate now. He's the one who has to do all the work. That's Griffin who's out. And it's going to be another virtual safety car. It's going to be a safety car. Perfect for SLR Quattro. Both the Red Bulls, who qualified low, are definitely not liking that. They're going to have the championship leader on their tails, but luckily it's Hyper against Quattro, and he will defend for God knows how long to try and keep Quattro behind. Jinx, who was actually trying to kind of falling away from the rest of them, is going to be probably quite happy himself that he's going to be able to get a little bit closer, but everything comes to a bit of a standstill here on lap 3 as 2 drivers are out. We've 14 remaining. It's been a great race to commentate so far. One of the most entertaining ones anyway. As far as starts go, like, I don't think it does get much better than this. Like, I look through the tiers. I've never really seen something have such a crazy start, other than I suppose Britain had a bit of a mad start. Obviously Bahrain was quite hectic as well, and it was quite a really entertaining one, but other than that it's been quite boring, you could even say. But we have our first safety car of the day here. Didn't have any in Monza last week, and maybe that is a good thing. Good racing anyway from the guys. Griffin crashes out on his own, I think, and then obviously Legend will be quite angry still with his crash with SLR Quattro. We'll find out what happens there. We'll see how it all goes down. I feel Ethan may have just disconnected there. Because his car is ghosted. Hopefully he can join back and take control soon. Gonna have to let him know about that. So the safety car is in this lap. Have to see how it goes down if VLE Eaton doesn't try and get back into the lobby quick. Then he's going to lose out many places. He's the only one disconnected out of everyone. And we'll have a look. JRR almost throwing Kofi through the corner. Surprised he hasn't maybe picked up a penalty for that. He may, if Kofi wishes to report. That's very dangerous. And he's gone for the race lead here, JRR. Down the inside he goes. Eaton definitely has lagged out. And JRR has taken the lead of the race. Very aggressive on the restart, and well, because of that he's taken the lead. CRM Doodle slides off 2 goes Hyper. And a front wing goes flying off as well, as Jinx lost out already to SLR Quattro. Lucas Paul going side by side with Jack as he's lost out to SJ Williams, and Lucas Paul has lost out to Jack as well. And he's now going to have SLR Quattro on his back. He keeps it, but Quattro is going to throw his car down the inside, and Quattro now has a car length between himself and Jinx. Back to the leaders. It's George getting away well, and back 2 also. Eaton is falling away now because of his AI and him lagging out. Clearly can't get back in. Magnus also gets by the McLaren. Kofi staying with JRR and getting a bit of a gap there to George Ansell. JRR is absolutely flying it at the moment, and if he does pick up a penalty for any sort of incident that happened, either formation lap or anything, he will he may have the pace just to get that gap ahead anyway. Oh, and JRR is off, and he's hit the barriers. And Kofi is back into the lead. And has JRR picked up any sort of damage here? I wonder. As they come round now towards the pit lane, and JRR stays out. But now, with a good bit away from Kofi, he has lost the lead of the race. VLE Eaton, with his lagging out, is all the way down now in P13, as he's been overtaken by pretty much everyone, and Quattro is making a nice comeback himself all the way back towards now the front of the grid. So VLE Eaton and JRR have been penalised for their donuts under formation lap, and they both have received each a qualifying ban for the next race and 2 penalty points for the breach of Article 2.4.3, and now luckily for JRR, that does not revolve this race whatsoever. So it looks like he has damage as he's fallen away from Kofi though, so whether he had the pace or not to compete with the front runners, that obviously setting him back now for next race possibly is not going to help him at all, and he could be off the podium soon if he definitely has damage. Look at him, he's running so far wide here. George Ansel trying to get on the back of him, but the dirty air in the heavy rain, he's starting to struggle. Jinx has lost it out of the final corner and has lost his front wing. The Red Bulls really need something special here if they want to get back into this. Such a great position both Magnus and Quattro are in at the moment. Could possibly open back up for the constructors as well. Williams obviously being only 40 points behind, you'd think there'd be a lot more. Only 40 points behind the Red Bulls, and today it could be even more if Quattro comes back to win the race and possibly goes even further as well. He's on the back of SJ Williams, and I'm sure when the next straight comes round he'll be past him as JRR goes wide there out of turn 11, and George Ansel is straight through the inside of him and is up in the second place. Very good race so far from him. So back 2 is next to chase down JRR. We'll watch Quattro gaining on SJ Williams, but it's going to have to sit back for now and hope possibly for the better exits, as yes, he kind of has, although SJ Williams seems to be placing his car quite well. Maybe Quattro has come to a little bit of a stump here in this train of cars all the way up to JRR. Other than that, the rest of the train was down at CRM Doodle all the way to Eaton. Well, not really, as Ethan's starting to fall away. Then Jack and Lucas Paul does seem to be off the pace. As who's that gone round? That's Owen Curry, who's gone round, and not for the first time this season or in his career. And he has dropped out of the points, which means with an overtake here from Quattro, who's going to try it. Oh, he was thinking of it, and they were millimetres away from touching, but an overtake here from Quattro could possibly put him ahead of Magnus, or not put him ahead, but put him ahead of Williams, SJ, and then I'm sure Magnus will let him through and have a go at back 2 and the podium sitters. It's just going to be them trying to find a way to do that in the most practical way. I'm sure Magnus will still accept a P6 finish if his teammate has the pace to go on and win the race. And you see that because Jinx and Hyper have all the work to do at the moment. Hopefully not getting lapped is one thing, and then hoping maybe even for the track to dry out or another safety car to come out will be another. Everyone seems to be racing quite good as SJ Williams goes a bit wide, but a huge snap of oversteer there from Quattro, and the exit means that he's going to not be able to win the place anyway. Just as I looked at the camera there, back 2 has some pace on him. JRR definitely has damage because his pace has dropped dramatically since he hit the wall and lost out his first place. And back 2 could be the next driver to be on the podium. These two Tier 2 championship rivals last year, obviously I wouldn't say championship as JRR had it wrapped up 2 rounds before. Well, I think it was actually on the final day, but it was pretty much wrapped up when he won 2 races. I think it was 4 races across the whole season, and back 2 only winning 1. But he could get the better of him today here, back 2, if he does overtake him. BLE Eaton could have been the McLaren doing well. This time, maybe back 2 instead. This could be a lovely move if he goes right round the outside here. JRR is struggling. Back 2 most certainly is not. They're still side by side as they go side by side through the final corner. And back 2 is in front before the start of the next straight. But JRR has some really good pace in a straight line. Back 2 has better pace, it looks like. Oh, and JRR's hit him, and back 2's off. And I think that's 100% the Alfa Romeo's fault there, and 2 Magnus going to go around the outside possibly of JRR, and is going to give him his first Tier 1 podium possibly. He won last night and he is on the podium tonight so far. I tell you, if Quattro can get by JRR, Williams could be on for one of their best finishes of the season and really close in on the Red Bulls, who aren't even in the points at the moment. This has been absolutely incredible so far, and we'll have to see what they can do. Wow, a few moments of just absolute chaos there, and back 2 will be absolutely killing himself, or maybe not himself, but want to be killing JRR after what happened there. SLR Quattro is right on the back of him after getting by SJ Williams earlier in the lap. Back 2 maybe thinks he should be ahead of JRR and Magnus and even SLR Quattro, who's going to line one up to go round the outside and do what back 2 done, round the outside, but he's not going to be able to because Jack is out there at turn 10, and joy for the Red Bulls as the safety car is out, and perfect timing for one of the Williams cars. 2 Magnus gets in time. It's going to go on to the intermediates. Now Quattro already has, well, I wouldn't say new intermediates, but he has intermediates that he shown in Netherlands last year can go till the end on. We'll see if he can. Believes that his new intermediates and everyone else behind him can go till the end. As the top 4 all did not pit. I tell you, Magnus could be on for a real opportunity here of winning this race. If Quattro isn't quick enough here, he could maybe try and overtake him, but knowing the position Quattro is in for a possible second championship, Magnus may try and make this race even more boring and just stay behind. Although knowing himself, and if he has an engineer maybe beside him and listening in on the stream, he should know himself that he is in with a huge chance of winning this Grand Prix once he catches up to the safety car train. 13 laps so far, and it's been the 13 best laps of racing I've seen all year. 3 DNS. You'd think with 2 safety cars already you'd hate to see this, but I am absolutely loving this. Jinx saying in the chat that the championship trophy has slipped away. I wouldn't say so yet. Quattro will be under pressure from all the drivers on the fresh intermediate, so will almost everyone else. I'm surprised JRR didn't go into the pits, because he most definitely has a bit of front wing damage, and if he doesn't, I need to ask him what happened to all the pace. The trophy hasn't slipped away yet for Jinx. Currently P12, but again now has a chance to get on the back. Back 2 taps into the back of 2 Magnus there, but the game doesn't say anything wrong with it, so Jinx and Hyper have to catch up now. May go on to a fresh set of tyres. Jinx doesn't, and I'm sure Hyper won't either, except he did the previous lap. We'll have a look at tyre age at the moment. Jinx's tyres are already quite fresh as it is. He boxed 4 laps ago on lap 10. Hyper boxed last lap, so he'll be fine, and everyone else above them, apart from Quattro, who boxed on lap 1, and the front 3 still yet to pit, but obviously don't have to pit being on intermediate tyres. Williams may say that Quattro overtook him in an illegal way. We don't know yet, but we'll see how that works. So everyone's caught up finally. A moment of silence there for me, trying to get the drivers to stop texting in the Discord. This has probably been one of the most crazy races, and as an Aston Martin safety car is leading the race, so is an Aston Martin Formula 1 car of Kofi. Yet to win. Last time he won was Imola of season 4 in when it was known as Racing Super League. Can he get his first corner to corner CTCR racing win here today in the fish helmet, as I can see through his cockpit? He has George Ansell on his debut, possibly able to stop him. We will see. As the safety car's in, and George has lost it, so he won't stop him. George has lost it, and he's going to be all the way down in P11 as Kofi has took that chance to fly away now with almost a 1 second lead from JRR. Horrible for George as he gets by Owen Curry, and so too will the AI of VLE Eaton. And that's horrible as well, I think, for Jinx, because now he's so far away from everyone else behind and has a lot of work to do now. So we'll see how that works. Kofi leads the way. JRR seemed to have picked up the pace a touch. Maybe he didn't have wing damage and he was just saving fuel or something like that. No, no, no! Now the championship trophy is slipping away from Jinx. 4 rounds to go, and it could be more than 25 points now with this. He's out of the points. Still loads of time now, over half a race to try and catch up, but he's sliding all over the place. He needs to keep his composure here. He cannot afford to crash out here. His first time in a championship battle. It looks like a championship catastrophe for Jinx, who's now 10 seconds away from the nearest car. Viper gets by Ethan's AI and is now 1 position away from the points. But the field is already starting to spread out, and the closest 2 cars between each other are the battle for the lead, JRR and Kofi, but they both seem to be quite relaxed at the moment. With George Ansell now spinning out means that it's all down to Williams now to see what they can do. Obviously Magnus is the only person with a time penalty for exceeding track limits, so he's going to need either a few drivers to drop back or himself to push on, or maybe just hope that everyone else gets up a penalty as well. Oh my indeed. Jinx has lost his front wing as George Ansell does pick up a penalty for exceeding track limits, so there's 1 ticked off Magnus's list. But it's Jinx who is falling away. Back 2 has also picked up 3 seconds. Maybe everyone has 2 warnings here and they're all slowly picking up a penalty. You'll see. But Jinx, you can see how far away he is. He's hoping that the track dries out or something happens in his favour here. He has China, Japan, Abu Dhabi and Brazil left in order to try and make something happen here. It doesn't look like it is happening for any of these drivers. Kofi and JRR and Quattro all the 3 that are kind of comfortable at the moment, but are on the oldest tyres, which means Magnus is still able to keep up with them. Although as well, JRR, well, he's not really under investigation for anything yet, but Quattro's under investigation for 2 incidents. So we'll see what happens here. He's getting right on the back of JRR here. Jinx has called it quits. It's still half the race remaining. He has retired in the pit lane. Look at this. SLR Quattro going for it on JRR. He defends well, Oh, and he's knocked off the track here, both of them, as he's going to still try and stick with him. Maybe 2 Magnus goes right round the outside of Alden. What a move! He's up in the second place. Back 2 is going to try it as well, as Quattro's dropping back. 2 Magnus still in second. Back 2 down the inside. They're still side by side as they make contact. Magnus starting to pull away, and Kofi is looking at this and going, this is definitely all in my hands now, as Magnus is still pulling away. Back 2 wants revenge on what happened earlier with JRR. He's still down the inside, and he's back into the lead. Quattro is going to be under a lot of pressure from a person who also maybe wants revenge on him. SJ Williams. Is he going to line one up down the inside? Of course he is. The AlphaTauri driver goes side by side with him as Back 2 and JRR trade places again. And SJ Williams gets the place on Quattro and is back up into P5. CRM Doodle may try it as well, but Quattro shuts the door and re-overtakes SJ Williams, who spins out there at turn 2. AlphaTauri's day is falling away, just like in Monza yesterday. Or not yesterday, I was trying to rhyme that whole thing. But oh, and that's JRR around as well. What a lovely save that is from him, though. I think it was. It may have been a reset to track. We'll have to have a look back on that. But a lovely spin and save. And this race is wide open for anyone now. But 2 Tier 2 drivers are currently on the podium, which was absolutely incredible. And Kofi is pulling away and rubbing his hands together. His first win of the season may be coming after a 2-week rest from Belgium and Italy. He has come back in Hungary, guns a-blazing, and is going to hopefully cruise home the final 16, 17 laps of this race. But SLR Quattro has been involved in lots of incidents now, and he just needs to even take home this P4. It'll be enough to get him a little bit of a cushion away from Jinx. It will make the gap 30 points. But with all the time he's under all the incidents he's under investigation for, he's going to have to get a move on. And if he does end up dropping back, it's going to just make this race pointless. But it's almost the perfect time, potentially, for a season break, you could say. George Ansel gets by Oven Curry down into turn 2 and is up in the P6. As everything starts to kind of settle down a bit now, and SLR Quattro showing that his pace is still there and is catching up to Back 2. I'm sure Magnus would like Quattro to get by Back 2. Maybe both of them build a bit of a gap, and then he will try and let by Quattro and hope Quattro can pull as far away as he can. If Quattro wins this race, gets by these two, overtakes Kofi as well, I tell you, I will personally go out and give him, I don't even know how much money, because I just don't see it happening even after the report as well. I wonder if it happens with the incident with Legend, the incident with Williams, possibly even that further incident with JRR. I have no idea what will happen, but Magnus is pulling away from Back 2, which means that Quattro, who's just set the fastest lap, is showing his pace is still there. I'm sure Kofi probably could set the fastest lap. He just wants to be in cruise mode now for the final 15 laps. Quattro with a bit of oversteer has to drop a chance of an overtake there for now, and he's going to have to sit behind for a little bit longer. But Williams really are taking advantage of this poor Red Bull result. Obviously Jinx is already out. Hyper, well, unless he gets by JRR here, which he definitely has a good chance of doing, Red Bull will only score 1 point if that only happens. With a 3-second penalty, it's going to be difficult. Hyper is going to go side by side here with JRR. It looks like he's going to swoop right round the outside. A quite simple overtake. As JRR, his tyres are well and truly gone. I think he believes he's going to come into the pits. So that's probably points gone for JRR unless he gets another safety car coming back in his favour. Or maybe his pace might just make him catch up to SJ Williams in a few laps' time. Quattro still close to back two, not too close, but he's definitely catching the McLaren driver, but unfortunately the McLaren is also catching his teammate. But fortunately, it looks like Magnus is gaining just ever so slightly on Kofi. And if this kind of slight gain continues, we could possibly see a four-way battle for the lead, with my calculations around lap 32 or 33. But obviously a steady gain is never going to be like that. It's always going to go up and down, and as shown here, Kofi just flies away in the final sector. And that 2.2 gap has now turned into 2.7 in just a few kilometers. So, unless Quattro can do it all himself, I don't think Magnus is going to bring home 25 points for the team today. Looking at the constructors, looks like Aston Martin are going to shoot right up with that race win. Obviously an extra 25 points will put them on 74. If results go their way elsewhere, which they are at the moment, could possibly put them ahead of Alfa Romeo and Ferrari and into P6. Owen Curry got back by George Ansel there, as they're both pretty much side by side here going up towards turn 4. George Ansel forced to the inside, and he kept his line. He left the room on the outside. Owen Curry had to run wide, and in doing so conceded the place. Lucas Paul doing his job at the moment, just staying with them, and if he just stays beside them for the rest of the race and everyone gets a penalty, or they keep their penalties and he doesn't. Oh, and there goes George Ansel off into the distance, and Lucas Paul says thank you very much. He's up to P7 and essentially P6 because of the 3-second penalty from Owen Curry. Doesn't seem to be putting any pressure on those drivers, so it kind of means that Owen Curry is going to try and maybe close up to CRM Doodle. It is going to happen because Team Magnus is not gaining at all on Kofi, and he's only getting further and further away. So Kofi's looking at that and just saying, this is my race to lose at the moment with 12 laps remaining. We will see whether or not that is correct, as Hyper gets by George Ansel in the pits, who's obviously gone into the pits because of his damage after the spin there out at, I think that was turn 8. Or was it turn 8? Sorry. No, turn 9. I mean, no, it was turn 8. I need to follow my gut a little bit more on that. So it means that the Red Bull pair, or well, obviously one of the Red Bull pairs will take home 0 points, and they've, again, just like in Monza, they've the wrong driver in the wrong position at the moment. Hyper in 8. And to be fair to Hyper, you have to give him credit where credit is due. He has scored in the last 5 races now. And the only other driver that has done that is Jinx, who scored in every Grand Prix, of course, except this one. So you have to give Red Bull the credit for being in that position. JRR has retired, and a safety car is out, the third of the day. And Kofi is thinking now he's coming into the pits. That's a huge shout. Quattro's coming in as well. So that means that all these drivers who have already pitted are going to just overtake them all, despite even with the safety car. And now those drivers, and that's not great for George Ansel, who's picked up a penalty for speeding. He'll have to serve that on the next lap. But Quattro, who's only replacing the tyres now, is going to be overtaken by most of the grid, and both him and Kofi have a lot of work to do if they want to win this race. Obviously Kofi has 3 free positions anyway because of Magnus back 2 and Owen Curry's penalties. You know, this could probably be in the line of CRM Doodle to win this race even, you could say. Obviously, I want to put my money, obviously, on maybe even Lucas Paul, but he's going to be right under pressure by Kofi. I'm going to take this time, unfortunately, to quickly go to the toilet. The safety car should be in a few laps anyway, so hopefully we should be all good and I can get back in time to commentate the restarts. Once again, apologies. So to Magnus about to get the safety car back underway, or the safety car restart back underway. Luckily I've done everything just in time. SLR Quattro must have had an incident under the safety car. He's lost a place. Magnus, great getaway, is already almost half a tenth clear of back 2. CRM Doodle right on the back of back 2, but he stays quite close to him. Kofi making his places already up into P5. He needs to get by 2 more cars to essentially be in the lead of the race. Another 5 cars or another 2 cars after that, and he is in the lead of the race. He has 9 laps to do it, or 8 laps to do it. Pressure, well, 9 actually, yes, sorry, 8.5. Pressure's on. SLR Quattro has to get by another Dutch driver of SJ Williams, and they've a lot of stuff to do, so we will see how that goes. Oh, and George Ansel almost loses it, overtaking Ethan. He's going to have to give that place back. I think George is also going to have to serve that drive-through penalty as he gets by Ansel, or he gets by Ethan. That's all good for him. Kofi on the back of Owen Curry. Both friends, both need to be careful with each other. Owen Curry is not too keen on giving him the place just yet, despite him having the penalty. He could be at fault for an incident here now. Well, either of them could be at fault, but if Kofi hits the back of him. Even if Kofi gets penalised, you could say it's all Owen Curry's fault for not trying to just let him by on the faster tyre and let him just go. He's clearly the faster driver. That's why he was on the front row. That's why he was leading the race for almost 25 laps before the safety car came out. And he'd like to be leading it for a little bit longer. Owen Curry still not too keen on that. Obviously Aston Martin in the constructors is, well, not too close to them, but they will be after this race if the results stay like this. So SLR Quattro still stuck behind the AlphaTauri, and with, well, Hyper quite close behind, and Quattro could be at fault for a few penalties, and maybe a few more go towards him. He could drop all the way back and may not even pick up a point, but we will see if that happens or not. It's 8 laps to go. 7.5, I should say. And it will be 7 soon as Owen Curry and Kofi go at it again. That looks like it's Kofi's favourite overtaking spot. Down into turn 12, it's where he re-overtook JRR. It's where he's overtaken Lucas Paul, and it's where he's also overtaken Owen Curry. And he has one more to do before he is essentially back into the lead of the race. We will see if he can do it, because Doodle knows he is the only man that is in his way. That is the only man that is in his way of possibly taking home his first CTCR Tier 1 championship, or fucking race win. George Ansel has lost it there on the exit of turn 1. Someone going slow. It's SLR Quattro going slow, because he's lost it, and I think that's damage to his car, and I think that's his Hungarian Grand Prix over. It is wing damage to the left end plate or the right end plate, and that is SLR Quattro's Hungarian Grand Prix over, because I'm sure he'll just stay out anyway because of George Ansel's position. But that's him under a lot of pressure now. So Kofi, if we switch to leader, is in the gap he needs to be of 2 Magnus in order to win the race. But that won't be enough. He needs to get by the car ahead, which is the Alfa Romeo, and he has 6 laps to do it. Will he do it is the question on much fresher tyres. Obviously, if we look here, it's 12 lap newer tyres. It really should be the Aston Martin driver's race. It's been a crazy race, and it's been one we've been waiting for all season, because if we look, there's only been, like, obviously, if we look here, like, looking at the championship here, first of all, he's denying SLR Quattro's potential record as he's into the pits there now. He's denying his potential record of another equaling his record 4 race wins in a row, which is, I don't think, ever going to be beaten, because unless Quattro wins the next 4, which is China, Japan, Abu Dhabi and Brazil. Then it was Jinx who won a race, then it's Quattro, and other than Lucas Paul and JRR, there hasn't been any other once-off winners, and be that, JRR is a very quick driver. I think Lucas Paul was the only really crazy mad win. And Kofi, you could say he's a very quick driver, but he's very inconsistent, so you never expect it from him to win this race. But with 6 laps to go, now going to be 5 laps to go, you'd almost put a good bit of money on him winning this race now. He's right on the back of Doodle, and he set another fastest lap. Quattro could possibly beat that soon, as he came into the pits. He's 10 seconds behind George. Quattro will not get any points to the look of LOI Jinx, who has obviously retired out of this race. So it's all to play for going into the final part of the season after our final break here in CTCR Season 5. George Ansel picks up the fastest lap, so maybe it's not only Kofi that has huge pace around here, and it won't be the perfect race of fastest lap and a win. It's more than likely gonna just be a win. I say more than likely because he still has to get by Doodle, but he hasn't got by Doodle yet, so it's not completely the Aston Martin spin out or something in the back. I would love to see his reaction, but at the moment he's keeping him at bay. I just wonder if Kofi's getting any bit impatient here, or if he knows he has the pace and he's just waiting behind for the mistake. We will see. This is the moment as they head now down towards turn 1. You'd think in all this that Magnus and back 2 might be able to pull away, but they're unable to. And if they don't pull away soon enough, then they won't have a chance of even a podium potentially. If we switch to the leader, it looks like Magnus will be able to stay on the podium because Lucas Paul isn't within 3 seconds. But I think back 2 is the same. Lucas Paul will not be on the podium unless he can pick up some pace a touch. We'll see about that. Kofi still chasing down Doodle. 4 laps to go now. 3.5 as they finish sector 1. 3 2/3 I should say. So it's essentially a 5-lapper now. And Kofi has to overtake someone. You'd love if the track just dried out a little bit and DRS was enabled. That would be a huge aid to Kofi. Obviously I think it would more just be in a train though, because CRM Doodle would have it as well. He's also running out of ERS as we can see on the steering wheel, and Doodle is using it quite well. Oh, he taps the back of CRM Doodle there as Magnus picks up crucially 6 seconds of penalties. That could possibly put Owen Curry on the podium now. We will see, not Owen Curry, sorry, Lucas Paul on the podium now. So Kofi's just tapped the back of Doodle there. He luckily doesn't spin him round and cause any sort of incident. And as we come round the final corner, 3 laps to go. Start now as 2 Magnus crosses the line. It really is anyone's race to win here. Will it be Kofi? Will it be CRM Doodle? But will both of them spin out, and it could then be absolutely anyone. And the question is, it looks like Lucas Paul will, and SJ Williams will probably be able to jump Magnus and at the front. Obviously picking up 3-second penalties here is absolutely huge. We'll see what the result of that is at the end, because at the moment we know the result of the race. It's either an Alfa Romeo driver or an Aston Martin driver winning it, and both of them are really close. Back 2 wants to possibly take the lead of the race. He does. He goes round the outside there into the chicane. Magnus goes off into the rumble strips and loses a lot of time there, which could possibly mean back 2 is going to fly ahead here and try and get out of the 3 seconds of all the cars behind here with 2.5 laps to go. We'll see as, look at that, Kofi's been forced onto the grass. He's off the track. He's been overtaken by Owen Curry again. And now it really is CRM Doodle's race to lose. But with all this happening here and all the battling, can back 2 pull a decent enough gap? Down the inside goes Magnus, takes back the place from Doodle. Possibly Owen Curry will get by as well. It really is anyone's race here to win as back 2 is starting to pull away. CRM Doodle gets up into 2nd place now as Magnus's race is starting to fall away, but he's gaining on the Alfa Romeo as they go side by side here. It's the penultimate lap of the race now. 2 laps to go. He slams into the side of Doodle, but Doodle keeps it and he goes round the outside and he's still within the 3 seconds of back 2. So it is still his race potentially to win. Kofi's getting impatient. He goes down the inside of Owen Curry and takes the place back. He has to do this all so quick if he wants to win the race. 2 Magnus comes back at Doodle here, down the inside of turn 3. He gets the place. Can Kofi do it as well? As Magnus picks up 9 seconds and Kofi is into the lead. And 2 Magnus is just slow enough to let him by. And now Kofi is back up into the net lead of this race. But can back 2 just pull away a little bit more from Kofi? Kofi thought he maybe flew it away. CRM Doodle's going to throw it away here. He's lost out to Lucas Paul, who has a huge chance himself of being on the podium here. I think he is going to take up that final place. George Ansel spins, so that means Quattro will take home at least a point here in his championship. But it's back to who has it all to do on the final lap. He needs to pull away by 5 tenths to win the race. We will see if he does it or not. Kofi has about just under a second of a lead from Magnus, but I don't think Magnus, with his pace on his tyres and his penalties, will try and put up any sort of pressure. He knows that his chance of a win is gone. Lucas Paul knows that his chance of a podium is well and truly there. CRM Doodle will be absolutely fuming with what happened to him. Kofi is keeping the gap steady here for Aston Martin, and I think he has done enough, but I'm sure back 2 will be absolutely thrilled himself with taking home a P2 finish anyway, with Lucas Paul more than likely, I think, taking home that final podium position as we enter now the final part of this race. Back 2, I'm just going to keep the track map open because I want to see if whether or not Kofi has any sort of problems. He seems to be driving perfectly. One driver who has also drove perfectly is back 2. He started quite far back in the race and he has drove exceptionally well today. He is going to cross the line first to win the race on track, but with his penalty means that Kofi is going to win his first race of CTCR Season 5, his second race in his career, and take home a P1 for Aston Martin. CRM Doodle got Lucas Paul at the end there. I missed that, and he is taking up the final place. Red Bull, somehow I've gone from getting the worst, a horrible weekend, to Kuiper somehow making an excellent drive to bring home a P4. Owen Curry in 5th. Lucas Paul dropped back at the end. Whatever happened there, only finished 6th. Magnus finished 8th with SJ Williams Magnus finished 7th with SJ Williams in 8th. Ethan in 9th. Quattro in 10th, but is under investigation for possible penalties. And George Ansel takes home the final position in 11th and scores, unfortunately, no points, but I'm sure he's happy. He got his 35 laps in of practice for, I think it was some sort of racing league that he's trying to practice for. Obviously with his troubles with his finger, he has still put in a great race, and a few spins is quite unfortunate, but that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Aston Martin and Kofi 477, his first win of the season. It's a long time coming. Obviously he's qualified high up, he has only picked up one podium in Saudi Arabia, and he's been waiting for this all season long, and it's come 10 rounds into the season here in Hungary after his 2-week break. He was definitely hungry for it, you could say, and he took it home with back 2 taking home an incredible P2 finish in McLaren. After saying that he's given up racing until F1 23, he's come back and he's finished on the podium in Tier 1. And CRM Doodle, who was reserving and started 14th, finishes in 3rd. And Hyper, who started 12th, finishes in 4th. Really was a crazy race, you could say. Owen Curry in 5th with Lucas Paul 6th. 2 Magnus in 7th with SJ Williams in 8th. VLE Eaton finishes in 9th. His AI the whole race as he couldn't get back into the lobby. I think he may keep that place despite that. He didn't leave. His AI just generally disconnected, so we'll have to see. He might put an appeal on that. Quattro takes on the final points position and gets an extra one for his 1:25.458 lap. And George Ansel, the final finisher, in 11th. Everyone else non-classified DNF. This has been the Hungarian Grand Prix. It was a brilliant race to watch. I hope it was to watch at home as well. We will see you all next week. Or not next week, we'll see you all the week after for China. Good night.